But you can talk about whatever you want. There's no right or wrong answer or anything like that. And if you don't want to talk about it, just say, no, I don't want to talk about it. But just more about like my grandparents, because I never met them. So your sister and your brother, Kath and Tom, what were they like? Oh, I met Kath when I was little, but I don't really remember.
Yeah,
So it's good to have you guys there. And
it'd be hard to talk about it.
yeah. Or maybe you don't
Kath was
necessarily.
my sister and
Yeah.
Tom was Jack's brother.
Yeah. Or maybe you could just talk about growing up. It doesn't have to be about them, but what it was like growing up in the Mallee.
The conditions.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Really, our story started at the end of the Second World War, 42 or whatever it was, and or 42 was it? Or,
44.
oh, yeah, because Tom was in the Air Force, and he'd been away, and Jack was working on the farm, and I was at school when the war was on, but then I'd just come home from finishing secondary school, and I started teaching. And is that what you wanted to know?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So just everything.
We weren't married till 48, so there's, you see, the years, the time flows in between, doesn't it? So we were going to have a double wedding, and my mother was Irish, and she had lots of superstitions, and she said, double weddings are bad luck, right? So Kath and Tom were married in April, and we were married in May.
No way.
Two separate weddings.
Yeah.
We were married in Ballarat because by that time my mum and dad had sort of shifted to and fro to Ballarat, so that's where we were married.
So did you grow up in Ballarat or in the Mallee?
In the Mallee.
In the Mallee.
Yeah.
What are your earliest memories of when you were young? Like, was it always hot? You obviously didn't have any air conditioning, no fridges, no electricity. What do you remember of like life being like? Did you hang around animals a lot?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Riding horses and potty cars.
Horses and the farms were worked with horse teams. Just the changeover from horses to
after the war.
To tractor, and I was just teaching in the little country school.
Yeah. And we spoke about that before about how they used to use.
How we used the horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, well, the teams were 8 or 10 horses, weren't they?
Yeah.
And yes, so.
You used to help your father.
Yes, there was 3 girls in our family, and I was the third, and I probably they were hoping that I was a boy. I don't know, but I always wanted to be a boy so that I could be outside with the animals and the farm and that. So I used to do a lot of horse riding and rounding up sheep and working with the horses and that sort of thing. And we had, before I went to school, we used to have to milk cows. You didn't buy milk in a bottle. It came from the cow, and that used to be the job, to milk the cows and separate the milk and get ready for school. And sometimes we were taken in a horse and gig. Other times we just ride our own pony to school, tie this pony up while we're in school all day, and come home again and then do jobs around the farm. One of my jobs used to be to get in the morning sticks.
What's that? Morning sticks?
The morning sticks. Well, we didn't have any gas or electricity, so to light the fire, you had to gather little
twigs,
bits of kindling. So that fell to me to get the morning sticks, and if I happened to be in a hurry and didn't get quite enough sticks, I wasn't too popular.
Fair enough. So it sounded like you had a fair few jobs to do.
Because
It sounded like you had a lot of jobs. You had to do. So in the morning you would milk the cows.
there were 3 or 4 cows, and separate the milk and get cream. Mum would make butter out of it, and that was that.
And then the milk. Would you ever sell the milk? Would you sell the milk, or would you just use that around the
No,
place?
we weren't really dairy farmers, but we used to sometimes. Our main communication was with the train, wasn't it?
Excess cream.
Yeah, excess cream and excess eggs. There was, instead of having a little 4 or 5 chickies in the yard like we have now, there could have been 20 or 30 or chooks running around, and so sometimes there'd be stacks of eggs, and they would send them, pack them in boxes and send them on the train down to
Melbourne.
Oh no, I think they went to, well, the cream, it went to Boort, I
Boort,
think.
the cream went
Yes.
to Boort, yeah.
I'm not sure where the eggs went.
And apart from, so the eggs and the cream you would make a little bit of money from, but mainly it was farming.
Yes,
And you were saying,
main thing was to grow wheat.
yeah.
That was the most important.
And can you tell us about when your dad cleared the land and what he had to go through when he, because that's just amazing for me. How he did that.
Oh, well,
And same with you, Jack, if you want to jump in.
my dad lived in southern Victoria, or mid-Victoria, I suppose, and the land where we went to in the Mallee was undeveloped and uncleared, and if you applied for a block of land, the blocks were 640 acres then, square mile, and if you applied, and that was granted through the government, and so then you had to set to clear it, work and clear it, and make it productive, and the first thing was when they first started, they had bullocks, didn't they?
Yes.
My father there were 3 brothers, the Hopkins brothers, and Tom, Stan, and Jack. And Jack he went on and did further education, so he didn't sort of farm, and then he went to the war in 1418. And
Sorry, the First World War?
yeah.
Yeah, so 1914, yeah.
He was the younger of the 3. So he was out of the picture, but the other 2 selected land in the Mallee of northern Victoria, and when they came, it was just scrub and kangaroos, emus, and what have you, and trees. And the first operation was they used rollers and pulled them with bullocks to roll the trees down to clear, and once they were rolled down and dried out, I suppose, then they burnt them, got rid of, and then they had to get rid of the stumps that were under the ground, some manually by ploughs or something, and they got the stumps out from under the ground, and then they'd cultivate and plant the wheat and hope for a harvest.
Yeah.
And they didn't have headers then when they were harvesting the wheat. They had what they called a stripper. The old H.B. Mackay was a company in Melbourne, and they had a stripper which was like a huge box, and a blade would they have had in the front, and a
beaters.
Oh, beaters in front on the comb, pulled all the heads of the wheat through and into the thing, and then manually they had what they called a winnower, and it one man turning the handle and putting the wheat heads and everything through.
Another one forking the
and someone forking the heads out of the stripper, and then finally they ended up with the grain, put into bags, loaded it onto the wagon, drawn by 4 or 5 or 6 sometimes horses, and carted it about 7, 8 from where we were, 7 or 8 miles, the railway station, and then the bags were loaded into the train.
And Jack, you were saying before how when they were clearing the land and if they hit a snag and the things they had to do with the axe and remember how you were saying they had to cut a V with the axe.
Yes.
That was for a bigger tree. If there was a bigger tree in amongst the scrub, the horses couldn't get it over, so they had to, put a V in it, and then the horses were able to pull it over.
Yeah, but also there were a lot of places, where we were Mallee, the timber wasn't huge, it was just sort of spindly trees and bushes and things. But in other parts of Victoria, where the trees were, big trees like that, they went and it was called ring barking, and they'd just
Died.
chip around all the tree with the axe, and that to stop the sap and kill the tree.
And did your dads ever tell you any stories about how hard it was clearing that land? Because it would have been tough.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of physical work. It was all physical. And even when it came to planting the wheat, now they have, the wheat has to be treated, and they used to have like a big barrel and liquid in it, and they'd
Formalin.
Yeah.
Use formalin.
Formalin pickle most to kill the whatever might be on the grain, and dunk that in the water, and then take it and plant it. Like so.
They do that the night before, and it'll drain overnight, and that's ready for to go off at sunrise in the morning, to start off their planting.
Yeah.
There was no driving all night with the tractor, was there?
No. And the horses had to sort of be in before sundown, so they'd dry. The coats would dry before it.
Had to knock off work, like 4 or 5 o'clock, depending on the time of the year, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so the horses wouldn't get cold with the wet coat.
So if the horse had a wet coat, it would get sick, or it would get the disease would grow or something.
Yeah, it'd give them a chill, they get pneumonia or something like that.
Yeah. So that was the main part of the operation, your team of horses, or
And
some places.
And the horses, biggest one was trimming the horses' hooves. so you had 10 horses, you had 40 hooves to trim. Not every time, but say every 3 weeks, a month.
Really?
Like you'd have to go over, and otherwise they'd crack in the sand, in the sandy conditions. They'd get flat feet, and they'd spread, and they'd crack. So you had to stop them cracking.
They were all the jobs that the harness all had to be treated with. They used to treat it with fat.
That was a wet day job. You had to sort of oil the harness up, and if a collar wasn't fitting the horse properly and it got a sore, you'd have to have a big pad just under the sore so it wouldn't be rubbing on the sore.
Jeez. Yeah.
I don't know whether that's what you, but that's how it was. It was all everything was manual.
Yeah.
And probably one of the hardest jobs, but the farmers didn't do that. But jobs that if you were looking for work in those days, you could get a job sewing the bags of wheat. Each bag had to be
22 stitches, I think.
Your old Ray, would have your mother's grandfather.
So young Ray, you mean?
No, old Ray.
Oh, old Ray. Yeah.
Young Ray's in the same village.
Edna's father.
Edna's father. He would have. I don't know whether some of them must have cleared land.
Some of the times I went across to Raymond's, we'd go out sewing bags. he might have to get a load ready for the Monday morning for somebody, a contractor to come and pick it up.
Each bag had to be how many stitches?
22.
22 stitches to the bag. So that was one shoot off of employment, and the other one was when we unloaded it at the railway station. People were employed they called it lumping, and they picked the bags up, put them on their shoulders,
Walk up a plank
and put them in the railway truck.
No, in the railway truck or store them on the ground.
Oh yeah.
So you'd get pretty strong from doing that. Good workout. You didn't need to go to the gym.
Yeah.
They'd run up this plank. It's only about that wide, with a 180 pound on their back.
Yeah. Well, big thing, as we were growing up, before we were married, they built big silos, and that was the change that came, and so the wheat was carted in bulk trucks
Or
or wagons.
bags.
Yeah, or open bags, yeah, and tipped into the silo.
Gee, I'll just have a quick.
Well, there didn't seem to be, boys just mainly came back to farms, and they didn't, well, just in the case of Dad and his two brothers, well, the youngest one then was, he must have been a pretty good scholar at school, and he went away and I think he worked for the taxation department when he was in the public service, or what do they call it?
Yeah, a bit different to farming then.
Yeah, but he did come back
He
after.
came back though. All he wanted to be was then, when he got back from the war, was farm. So
He was fairly successful.
yeah.
And you mentioned the war. What was that like? I couldn't imagine. You know, the stuff you'd hear about World War II, fighting the Germans, Australia's under attack from the Japanese.
Yeah.
Was it scary?
I was at school.
Yeah.
And in Ballarat, and we used to I don't think they asked the girls to do any shovel work, but they dug like trenches around under the big cypress trees and that, and we used to have to they'd do a practice that'd sound a siren or a bell or whatever, and we all had to leave the school very orderly manner, not was double story, so had the proper pattern for leaving and go and get in the trenches. But there was never any real activity, but it was happening up in Darwin and northern Australia.
Townsville.
Townsville.
Yeah. And
So,
and Tom, obviously, he joined the Air Force.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that? How was he super keen to join?
Yeah, he had a big operation when he was about 16. He had a big scar on his thing, so when he went to be examined, the question was, is he good enough to be in the services? And one fellow says, oh yes, let him go. But they give him a job at the lowest part, a guard. He was a guard, so he had a lot of fun in the guards.
he was up at Darwin, wasn't he?
He was at Darwin, and he was at Townsville, and then he came back and finished at Lake Boga because that was a base for the seaplanes. They used to bring them down there to repair them. But while he's in Darwin, there was about 10 or 11, they were little units out through the bush, and someone bet him he wasn't going to let the gun off. So during the night, bang goes the gun, and bang again, and he got called in next morning. Well, what's the disturbance? Oh, he said there was something around the fuel depot, noises around the fuel depot, and he said, next thing I hear thud, thud. So I called out halt, and I kept going, so I fired.
It was a kangaroo.
And he said, no, I woke up, it was a kangaroo.
So he won the bet.
So they had,
Yes. So then he was down at Lake Boga, and it's a long way from anywhere, and he was on the main gate, guarding the main gate, and the officers were coming through, and there's some wafts in the car, and they, you know, thought he could drive straight through. So he yelled out, "Halt!" and they didn't stop, so he banged the gun off again. And he's called in again, and they said, "What was the thing?" He said what he did, and the officer said, "Oh, you want to hold that till you get up north?" He said, "Hold that till you get up north."
As in overseas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he did the right thing. The officer thought he was so good he wasn't going to stop.
Yeah. Did he give you, was there any other war stories like that he would tell you? I'm sure he would have had a few. Were they the main two stories that you can think of? Or even not necessarily with the war, but just with your brother, I don't know, growing up, if you had, I'm sure you would have had...
I had to step in where he did, when he left, drive the teams and that, see. So that was that, yeah.
So, and you would have been, at that stage, 16? 17? Or 15?
Jack was just too young, weren't you?
I could have had 6 months in after the war finished, you know, in Japan. I could have had 6 months there.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, all the war's over, I wasn't joining up, so...
Yeah.
No, I don't think any funny things happened except driving the header. The horses wouldn't go up the corner. They get cunning, and they want to turn before the corner. So I got some stones, and so I threw at one, and he took a plunge and he choked down, and he came over backwards, and the horses were like that in team, at 4 in front and 4 in the back, and he came over and he split up. He got out of his chains and I headed for home, but luckily I'd closed the gate. So I tied the other horses up and went down and caught him and brought him back and mended the chains, put him back in. I got one more round done for that night.
That probably doesn't, you know.
No, it does. That fascinates me because so the horses are just going like, I'm sick of this. I'm cutting corners.
Yeah.
But they're trying to, and you're going, oh, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Try a rock.
Yeah, Mum and Dad were coming out to see where I was because I was late getting home.
Did you tell them the truth?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's something like that.
I don't know if you would have.
Yeah.
That's good. And
I knew if the horses got home, there'd be trouble. They'd be. Yeah.
That's what you're saying. You're lucky you closed the gate.
Yeah, closed the gate. Yeah.
Smart. And what was Bob like around the farm?
Bob.
Yeah.
He come into the tractor stage after the war. He came in. Yeah.
But he was what, 8, 9?
7 years, I think. I think 7 years difference, I think.
He was so much younger. Tom and Jack were sort of grown up before Bob came on the scene.
Yeah. Because I never met Bob, I don't think, but I heard he was a pretty funny character. He had a big laugh, didn't he?
Yeah.
Big belly laugh, and Dad always talks about Uncle Bob.
He got very big. He wasn't, as a child he wasn't.
They said he couldn't weigh on a weighing machine. They had to put him on the wheat weighbridge to weigh him. He's 28 stone. Yeah.
And he was a funny character, wasn't he?
Yeah. He cost him his life, really. His excess weight. How old was he when he died? 57.
57, I think. Yeah.
But yes, I don't know. He seemed to be having a lot of fun when we were married and had lots of responsibilities, and that where Bob seemed to be still enjoying life. And then he got married and they had
4 children.
Yes, the girl and a boy, and then twin boys.
Awesome. And when Tom came home from the war, I might have this wrong, but my grandma used to tell me that. So my grandma Edna Cockfield and Bill Fawcett met